Hey guys, welcome back here to the Fishing Teacher, and appreciate you guys coming by the channel today to check the video out. And guys, today I want to talk about setting your drag on both a bait caster and a spinning rod. Drag setting is critical as far as to landing fish once you get them hooked, and also it's critical to getting a good hook set and not breaking your line and making sure you got good penetration. So I'm going to give you guys some tips and advice on how I set my drags personally. Everybody may have their own preference, but I found something that works pretty good with me. So we're gonna get into that in today's video. And also guys, we will be setting the drags on my Cast King reels here. This is the new Cast King ALTI Elite bait casting reel, guys. Halo Vortex braking system on it, next to impossible to backlash, 11 ball bearings, all titanium spool in it, and also the Cast King Royal Legend spinning outfit. I'll put both of these in my in my Cast King link in the description of this video. If you guys would like to order some of those reels there, if you use my promo code Randy10, you get an additional discount. And also guys, coupling these both up, I will be putting in my Mega Bass rod link. I've used the Mega Bass rods, a lot of different models of it. I'll have my Mega Bass rod link in my Tackle Warehouse link in this video description if you guys would like to get a good Mega Bass rod and a Cast King reel. I think you'd be happy with that, so appreciate it. Okay guys, let me give you my theory on drag setting with both ones. Let's talk a little bit first about bait cast reels. Okay, now the bait cast reels, obviously a lot of how you set the drag is determined by the lure and the pound test of line that you're going to use. So let's talk a little bit about the slow baits that you have to actually set the hook with. Now the slow baits we're talking would be like a Texas rig, a jig, a football head jig, something that you're fishing on the bottom that you're working. You're not retrieving the bait, you're actually working it, and when you get the bite you have to reel down and you have to set the hook. Now when you're doing this, a lot of it has to do with the pound test line that you're using, because if, say for example, if you're fishing with 10 or 12 pound test line, you're obviously not going to be able to set the hook as hard as you're using 20 or 25 pound test line. So if I'm using 10 to 12, 15 pound test line, I want this drag setting here on the reel, I want to back it off a little bit to where if I set the hook like really hard, or not real hard, but if I set the hook hard on 10 or 12 pound test line, the spool is just going to slip just a little bit on the hook set, not very much, just a little bit. Now, if I'm fishing heavier line, like 20, 25 pound test line that I'm not concerned about breaking on the hook set, I'm gonna have it even tighter. So if I'm flipping and pitching with a 25 pound test line, when I set the hook, I don't want any slippage on there. I want complete power with it. Now, one of the reasons that I do set my drags a little bit tighter than most people is on a spinning reel, I free spool the fish. I don't ever rely on a drag to save me if a fish makes a run. If a fish is making a run, I always push the thumb bar there and I put pressure on the thumb bar and I let the line out on a free spool based upon how hard the fish is pulling. This gives me precise control over it. You cannot have a precise control with any drag system. I don't care what reel it is. You can't ever determine exactly the power of the fish. And another thing is you don't know how good the fish is hooked. You're assuming, if you put pressure on a fish, you're assuming that fish has got a good hook in it, but you don't know if it's got just a piece of skin or something, or it's got one treble hook in the back of it. So you always want to make sure that you thumb the free spool in order to fight a fish with. So in essence, the drag, in my opinion, is more about the hook set than it is about actually fighting the fish with the bait cast reel. One time that I will use a drag a little bit lighter on a bait cast reel, if I'm fishing say a crankbait that has some small hooks in it, like a wiggle wart or some type of a small crankbait like that, then I will back the drag off, and I want to be able to rely on me pushing the thumb bar, but just in case it fools me, I want to be able to have that drag loose enough to where if they have a little bitty set of treble hooks in there, they're not going to pull out. So that's the only time that I do back it off. More than that, most of the time, guys, I got my drags pretty tight, since I do thumb bar. Now, for the spinning outfit, completely different. And this is another thing I talk about a lot of my videos. I lock my drag down on my spinning outfits. The drag's right here. I don't ever rely on a drag because I back reel all the time. You know, get a reel like this Cast King that's got the anti-reverse on here that allows you to back reel, because when I set the hook on my spinning outfit, I've got a softer rod. You know, I adjust my hook set based upon my line test. If I'm using 4 or 6 pound test line, I'm going to set that hook softer. If I'm up to 10, 12 pound test on my spinning outfit, I can put more pressure on it. But nevertheless, my drag is locked down. I don't care if it's 4 pound test or 12 pound test. I do not rely on a drag because a drag is an inferior piece of equipment compared to back reeling. Back reeling is precise. It's like you can put a minimum out or a maximum amount of pressure on the fish based upon the situation that you encounter. So a lot of times you see those Elite Series guys, they're out there and they got their drag loose and they're peeling line like that out of their drag. Guys, that's because they can't rely on their drag. That's the only reason they're peeling line out, is they can't rely on it because it is inconsistent. It doesn't matter. I don't care if you have a $5,000 spinning outfit, it's inconsistent, but it's never inconsistent by learning to back reel. So learn to back reel on your spinning outfits. It's going to save you a ton of fish. And like I said, when you set that hook on a lockdown drag on a spinning rod, you usually always get those fish. So that's how I do it, guys. That's a system that I have come up with through trial and error over the years of fishing. Works really good for me, and I think it will for you too. So we'll talk later.